most important principle of a dance composition. Unity refers to the fusion together of the parts of a dance to heighten and strengthen the total effect. A coherent entity with all parts having a harmonious relationship that contributes to the sense of completeness. I have created unity through focusing on the development of my motif into phrase, placing considerations into logical structure, and the use of variety and contrast into enhance interest. As I had more than one section and more than one dancer, I found it I had a lot more to consider in comparison to my core composition. To ensure that the whole dance was running smoothly, and to achieve unity, I reflected and evaluated on the following aspects of my dance: phrases, sequences, sections, transitions, and variety and contrast. When focusing on the development of my phrase, I used improvisation as the first step in the dance composition process. With the intention of developing innovative movement ideas, I would either start off with my motif, for example, my first motif, pushing down of the leg, which the duo performs to communicate the connection they have towards each other. However, I have manipulated this motif for Jess using retrograde to communicate that she is different and doesn't fit in. Following this, I would generate a variety of movements through manipulating the elements of dance to develop my motif into phrase. To ensure my intent continues to be communicated, for example, I have used time to manipulate my motif, changing the tempo of the motif. I have also reversed the motif Using this process of all my phrases reinforced what I was trying to communicate and ensured that my dance flowed and was connected. When generating movement in the initial stages of improvisation, I placed different restrictions and intentions that related to my intent. The restrictions I used to generate movement for Jess was that I placed her on the same low levels as the other dancers, as I wanted her to communicate low self-esteem. She would experience being alone and isolated, so that when the other girls got up, she was still stuck on the floor on the lower levels. I also restricted the amount of space inhabited. This resulted in the creation of confined shapes and smaller dimensions, which helped to communicate that she is dejected and longs to be accepted. With the duets, my intention behind the improvisation was to fill any open space and contact between the girls to the movement and show that they were connected and were moving as one. When focusing on the sequences in my work, I considered the particular order in which they related and followed each other to ensure the dance made sense and communicated the intent. If sequencing wasn't a part of the process, the performance wouldn't look put together, it would look disjointed. When I was sequencing my work, it was really difficult as I wanted to communicate that Jess wasn't included but was trying to fit in. When I reflected on the process, I would take out what didn't look in place and rearrange it. For example, in my progress assessment, I initially had all the dancers starting together, but reflected on this and decided my intent could be communicated more clearly from the beginning if I changed the spacing and formations. Instead, I placed Jess on her own in a different area of the stage, far stage left, and centered the duet to show the strength that they unified relationships. When I was focusing on the sections of my work, I had to make sure that all sections had a purpose and would be able to be seen clearly and understood throughout my work. I have 3 sections and followed the ternary form. Section A of my work communicates separation. In this section, I am aiming to communicate that Jess is separated from the duet, but is longing to be a part of them. She is closer to the back of the stage to communicate that she is scared and unwanted. She is facing the direction of the duet to communicate that she is longing to be a part of them. And she is seen manipulating her own body parts in comparison to the duets, who are consistently contacting and manipulating each other's body parts. Section B of my work communicates acceptance. Throughout this section, I am trying to communicate that Jess has integrated herself within the duet in hope that they will accept her. I have used unison and included Jess in the contact sections. My dance then reverts back to section A, which reinforces separation once again. In this section, it is referring back to the first section as the duet has stopped accepting her and now she is back to being alone. I had just finished on the opposite side of the stage she began on, stage right, this time facing away from the girls to communicate the awareness she has gained throughout her journey as she is now aware that she is not accepted. Transitions are very important throughout a dance as they have the potential to reinforce the concept. I have 3 sections, therefore I have 2 prominent transitions. I chose the transitions to be a variation of a freeze frame. I also chose to incorporate this at the beginning and the end of my dance as a literal representation of my intent. I chose a freeze frame because it is effective in directing the audience attention. At the beginning of my dance, you see the duet in a freeze frame and Jess is roaming around them, interfering with their personal space and looking at them intentionally. The fact that she gets so close to them but does not contact them shows that she is separated. I also ensured that the duet does not notice her manoeuvring around them to further reinforce this. Transitions 1 then shows the duet is in a freeze frame. This time Jess attempts to manipulate their positions by contacting them and moving their limbs as an attempt to become involved in the relationship. The duet again remains unaware of Jess through projecting their eye line to the audience. You will also see them revert their movements back to their original positions to communicate that they are refusing to accept Jess. The third transition does not involve a freeze frame, but it does involve Jess contacting and trying to manipulate the duet again. This time the duet continues to move, showing that they are unaware of Jess's attempts to become involved. Jess is on a lower level during this transition to show that she is of a lower social status to the others. Finally, I finish my dance with a variation of the beginning. The duet goes back into their weight-bearing duet-centered stage and Jess is separated and looking back at them before looking away. This is to communicate that Jess has been separated again, but realised that it is for the best and she looks away in a forwards direction to symbolise that she has given up and trying to move on. Variety and contrast is essential to ensuring that there is interest within the dance as it creates high and low points. I decided to have Section B contrast Section A through the use of time and dynamics. In Section B, the dancers all perform with increased high energy and force. Their quality of movement is more powerful and percussive, with the use of accents to show that as a group moving as one, they are stronger than an individual. In contrast, Section A uses sustained dynamics and a slower tempo. The weight and force is lighter, creating a fluid movement quality. This is to demonstrate as a smaller group or an individual, they are more fragile and less powerful.